All right. Well, we did tell you about the winner of the Westminster Dog Show, the German Shepherd Rumor.
Yeah.
So we decided to march in our two little German Shepherds, Warren Caudle and Carol
Are you
Ross.
calling us
here this
attack
morning.
dogs?
Well,
Bernie,
y'all both have
Bernie, you hear him?
Y'all get
He's
really mean
already.
when someone talks dirty to y'all. You get mean. All right. So welcome to Wingin It Wednesday, brought to you by our friends over at Service Cadillac, 1212 Ambassador Caffrey. It's also the home of The Wash, and it is Wash It Up Wednesday as well.
Look, if you want a Cadillac, you're going to find it. They have the largest selection all in South Louisiana. You're going to get any color, any make, any model. Anything you're looking for, you're going to find it.
And let me tell you, there's more than just black and cream seats in the world.
No, exactly.
Way more over there.
So just go there and peruse what you wish. You can look at all of it, decide what works best for you, and get all the technology you can imagine in one vehicle.
Let's start on the national topic at hand. General Flynn, forced resignation, voluntary resignation. What was it? Kind of depends on who you ask. And now we have this new push, led on the Republican side by John McCain, to figure out what exactly is going on.
What did the president know, and when did he know it?
Yeah, what and when, Carol?
Sound familiar, Warren?
All right, Carol, kick this one off, man.
Yeah, they can't wait to get back to the Nixon era. What did the president know, and when did he know it? Come on, people. Many of the folks in the Trump administration, Paul Manafort, for one, they had contracts with the Ukrainians, not necessarily the Russians, the Ukrainians. So they had conversations, really. The most troubling thing about this is this shadow government that has taken shape that now we perceive. They've always been there. But as long as they agreed with who was in power and what they were doing, everything was fine. Now we have this shadow government that is out there, out to destroy anybody and anything associated with Donald Trump. Why? He is disrupting their little playground, and they don't like it. And that includes all those bureaucrats who are, by the way, mostly Democrats. If you look at their donation patterns, 95% went to Hillary Clinton. They're looking at their little playground being disrupted, and they don't like it. Trump has already said he's going to cut back, and I think he may have cut back the workforce already. He sent out a directive at the very beginning. Now, Lieutenant General Flynn has been a disruptor himself. He had a 33-year career in the armed forces. He was known for his candor and his unorthodox sensibilities. That's how it's been described in some of the news reports that I've seen. He was very strong anti-radical Islam, and that, of course, didn't endear him to anyone in Washington. And he said, we have no perception of how to win the war on terror. In 2010, he published a paper. Now, this really gets to the heart of it. He lambasted military intelligence community for their deficiencies. So you think, guess who's going after him now? They have all the tapes. Who released the tapes? It's really dangerous. It's getting into a dangerous realm right now, that your own military intelligence is blowing your cover. It's bad enough when WikiLeaks does it, and Edward Snowden does it and all that. But now you have your own people undermining you for their own political agenda. Washington is a swamp, and it needs draining. And I question these. Do they really give a rat's behind about this country? I don't think so. They wouldn't be doing these kinds of things just for their own political ends.
Warren, what does it mean? So say he does have bigger Russian ties than we even know about. Does it even matter?
First of all, I'm not going to dignify anything that stupid-ass John McCain says with a comment.
Agreed.
Let me tell my point about what I feel this thing is all about. It's not necessarily the shadow government, but so much that what we're in is we have the National Socialist movement in this country who are hell-bent on replacing this government. And one of the things that they want National Socialism. Pure and simple. I mean, they have said it more and more and more. They got us all the way up to the brink. They had that one door left to go through, and that door was closed and locked by the American people on November the 8th, and they cannot stand it. And so they really have an extremely well-organized operation going to try to bring down the government. If they can just bring down the Trump administration, that will almost make it home free to them.
Exactly.
And hope to God they never do. But look, what this thing is all about. Twofold. One thing is we're in a different world. Now, you can't be happy that the people inside the intelligence community and all of that are leaking information detrimental to the Clintons, and then at the same time get upset when they're leaking information that may be detrimental to the good guys, and which is kind of what's happening now. I mean, they put out and said that the phone calls were intercepted. Oh, really? Where did that come from? Who intercepts the phone calls? Well, you know, they used to be done illegally. Now it's done legally, thanks to a la Dick Cheney and the National Security Agency oversight and wiretapping of everybody, intercepting everybody's phone calls and emails and everything else. And so, you know, we're in a different world. But I think it's probably good that Flynn resigned. And I think that both sides were right. I think Conway was right, and I think that what Spencer was right. Both of them had it. Trump said he still got my support. All right, he resigned, but he still has my support. I don't see anything conflicting with that. But the other part about it is, here you had a group getting ready to take over the most powerful position in the world, the presidency of the United States, and his team is out there. Are they talking to people around the world? They damn sure better be talking to people. You're getting ready to move in there, and you're going to be in charge. Now, what's the flip side to that? You had all these idiots with CNN and all that stuff a few years ago with George Bush and them. Do you know who the president of Uzbekistan is? Have you ever met the president of Kazakhstan? Do you realize that you may be dealing with them? Do you know who the prime minister and the chief financial officer of Tibet is? You know, and they didn't even know. Have you ever talked to any of these people? Do you know any of these people? Have you ever seen any of these people? So then here you got somebody comes up and says, you know, well, I think they were talking to him. Well, of course they were talking to him. It's basically their job to talk to him. Hell, I've talked to Russians. You know, so my point is, what we need to do in this country is we need to understand that we have a group out there who is hell-bent on changing this country for the worse. And that what they hate about the Russians, what they hate about Putin, is that over the last 20 years they have moved to a free market economy, away from communism and socialism to a free market economy. And the National Socialists in this country, they want us in a socialist economy and not a free market economy, and they are hell-bent on getting us there, and the only way you can get us there is with a totalitarian government.
All right, quickly wrap this up, Carol.
It's not a free market economy. It's the oligarchs who get the franchises from the government, and Putin is a killer, by the way. But if you want to see what and Warren, you make an excellent point about the movement, go to indivisibleguide.com, and you will see what's going on. I plan to talk a little bit about that this afternoon. It is really amazing that the thinking of these people and how they are obsessed with the Tea Party.
All right, so we're going to move on. Your call is always welcome at 232-1542. Coming up on Wingin It Wednesday, we're going to talk about the dinner table conversation that has a lot of people concerned on another issue of the topic of North Korea during the Abe visit from Japan at Mar-a-Lago in Florida. All that coming up on Wingin' It Wednesday. Stay with us. Wingin' It Wednesday with Warren Caudle and Carol Ross here with us. We'll go to the phones.
Ketchup, it's what for breakfast.
It is what's for breakfast. I told you.
1542 and a caller on the phone.
Rob saved me.
I think our caller might agree with some of the things we brought up in the last segment. Go ahead.
Good morning, guys. I just wanted to say amen, sister. Thank you, Carol. I've been listening to you and your new show. And I am one of those people that completely agrees with everything Trump is doing. And he's in there, he's getting it done, and I think everybody needs to get out the way and let him plow through this mess.
You know, how do you feel? I love to get the take of a real voter. I mean, we vote in here too. Well, I don't. We've explained my reasons. But, you know, we are so overexposed to the backs and forths. For the regular voter, I mean, does it encourage you that he's coming through on the promises he made on the campaign trail?
Oh, you have no idea. You have absolutely no idea what it means to me and my husband and our kids. I have a 17-year-old who's a senior. He's graduating. He's already enlisted in the Army. Wasn't sure if he'd even pursue a military career because of Hillary Clinton. And I have a 16-year-old sophomore. We call you guys regularly. We listen to all of you. We regularly discuss politics, religion, sex, drugs, and money in our house because I want my kids to learn it from me. My kids watched the election and insisted on it. They watched the debate. So not only is it us as a voter, but we have kids that are future voters.
Bless you. Yay,
American
Mom.
house.
Good
Good
job.
for you.
Good
We
job.
applaud
Thanks for
you.
My husband and I have also a machine shop. I'm a school teacher. I'm displaced. We're scrimping and scraping. I'm right now at school pulling up to my morning job, and then I'm going to have to go to a night job.
And
So
tell me something.
voters, to have somebody standing up for us, I'm about to cry. You have no idea the hope. This is, I feel, this is God giving us our last chance.
How do you feel about the taxes that they're about to come after us with? They've already done over $200 million in taxes at the state level, but now we've got local governments coming after us again.
Okay, well, Gov Edwards, I called him the other day, and he cut me off, and he didn't let me finish asking him why they don't cut the legislators' pay the same percent that they've increased our taxes. I don't want to hear that. You don't want to talk about cutting spending.
Well, bless you for calling him. No, most people don't even do that. Most people don't even call.
Oh, look, I was so mad I could barely speak. And I specifically asked him, when we ran out of money and our jobs got cut, we cut spending in our house. Why haven't you cut spending? And they don't want to talk about that. And they have this special session. And I wanted to call you yesterday, and I didn't have time. I want to know, why are they even getting paid?
Yep.
They already got paid. They didn't do their job. Whenever I don't do my job, I have to do it for free. I have to fix my mistake for free.
You know something?
I didn't do it right the first time.
You're right. They've had 4 sessions in the past 18 months. 3 of them special sessions. Has anything been solved? No.
None of that. None of them should be getting paid. And as a matter of fact, if they want to lead Mr. Code Edwards, if he wants to be an example, then what he needs to do is he needs to start off with the first thing is cutting everybody's pay, starting with Jay Darden, and then working his way down.
Now you're singing our tune.
And then Mr. Robideau, who said I saved higher ed, he's a liar. He voted with Bell Edwards in the last few years of the legislature budget to cut all of the higher ed, and now he's going to say I saved it. No, you didn't.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. My
Bless
goodness.
your heart.
Into
We
it.
need
Thank
more
you for your
mamas like
call.
that.
A couple
Thank
things
you,
to
ma'am.
say. Number one, ma'am, please send a copy of your insurance card because we clearly just provided you some therapy.
Yes.
Second of all, Carol, I know this is day 3 of your show, but you've been replaced. She's coming on for 2
I'm
hours.
telling you.
You have a
I
co-host.
want her. I want
This
her.
lady's got to be your guest person.
Oh,
yeah.
man, anytime we could have a conversation.
Well, wait, so while
Girl,
we're on
we can talk.
While we're on that topic, let's just go ahead and go with it. With the state
right.
budget, the state
Is
special
back at their
session.
special session.
Well, this is day 3 today. Warren, what is going to be accomplished? We were hearing the word compromise on Monday, not so much after what happened yesterday.
Look, what's going to be accomplished is a little bit of nothing, a whole lot of nothing. We're going to kick the can further down the road. We're going to borrow more money. We're going to promise to pay it back from money that's going to be coming in one of these days. We don't know when. Are we going to address any of the real problems that we've got in this state? Hell no. Why? Because they created the problems. They've created every one of the problems. They're not going to address them. And they're going to sit there and continue to tell us that it's our fault. If you people just paid more taxes, then we would be in much better shape. Why are all the people leaving the state, the young people leaving the state? Well, I don't know. Where they're leaving the state because they can go where the work is, where business is growing. Back about 25 years ago, they had a governor's race, and about that time, I think it was Forbes or Fortune, one of them came out with the 100 top fastest growing companies in the United States, and these were smaller companies, not the big ones weren't really growing. And so they were in Florida, they were in Georgia, they were in Alabama, they were in Mississippi, they were in Arkansas, they were in Tennessee, they were in Oklahoma, they were in Texas. I left out a state on the Gulf Coast, Louisiana. Wow. There were none in Louisiana. The only one in Louisiana that made that list was Freeport-McMoRan. That's because they had just made some kind of a huge discovery in gold in Malaysia, Indonesia, whatever, and had made some discoveries in the Gulf of Mexico. But other than that, we're such an anti-business climate state. One of the candidates for governor that was at a forum in New Orleans, and he said, we got to do something to bring back industry and business to this state. He said, businesses, the only ones located in this state are those who have to be here. He said, when they come in here and look around and want to put a business here, and then they go to South Carolina and they see that our workman's comp rates are 5 times higher than it is in South Carolina, your chance of getting sued here is about 22 times higher than it is any other state in the nation. Your car insurance rates are second highest in the United States, which are no longer second highest. No longer. We're now, I think, the highest in the United States. He said, I can tell you why they don't come here. But what are we trying to do to fix any of that? Nothing. We're trying to penalize companies for leaving Louisiana. And he said they leave because the cost of doing business is too great here. And why the cost of, I said, every problem that we have in this state comes from acts of the legislature. Every one of them. I went to a forum one time when Foster Campbell was running for governor, and Sonny Mouton got up there, and they were introduced about how many years and years and years of experience they had in the legislature and all this, and both of them got up there and said what a horrible shape the state was in and how it needed to be fixed and blah, blah, blah. And so then after they got through, I said, well, look, y'all just got through talking about how many years experience, like 100 years in the legislature between the two of you. And I said, talk about what a horrible shape the state's in. Do you bear any responsibility for the problems?
Well, of course not.
And they said, well, yes, really and truly, we have to. And but
wow.
Well, they're going to trot out all the little kids in wheelchairs. They're going to trot out all the people who are on dialysis machines, but they're not going to trot out all the consulting contracts, all of the NGOs, all of the fluff that they spend money on. They're going to cry about the roads. They're going to cry about the drainage. Going to cry about not having money for the basics. But what are they doing? What are we funding up in North Louisiana? A lake, a golf course, a hotel, all of them losing money? And these are projects all over the state. There's about a $5 billion annual transfer from the state government to local projects that if the people supported them, they would be funded locally. But they go to the legislature because it's easier to beat on them. There are lobbyists for every single special interest group in Baton Rouge right now fighting for their interests. Who is fighting for the taxpayer, the middle-class taxpayer that is bearing it on the chin, that's taking it on the chin to fund the Purple Circle Social Club and all these other, and the air conditioner for the Junior League in New Orleans and a whole bunch of other projects that really, I'm sorry, they are not, and when, if you had all the money in the world, great. Let's support all of these wonderful things. Our art, our culture, it's fantastic. I support all of that. But when it comes down to, do we have money for roads, drainage, public safety, and the basic health care and education needs of our state, as opposed to these things that I question the efficacy and actually the rationale of even funding these things. And here we go again, and you're going to trot them out, and as Warren said, and as the beautiful woman who called in, my number one favorite fan, they're going to trot out all these people and tell us we're the problem because we don't want to give them more money. Mm-hmm. And I look at a school board locally that's about to come after us again for more money, and you say your student population hasn't increased more than 1,000 over the past 20 years. It's roughly 31,000, and your money has doubled and tripled. Doubled definitely in terms of property tax, which they just rolled forward. The millages allowed them to roll forward, and they got about a 9% bump in the collection of property tax. In sales tax, in terms of sales tax, it's more than doubled. The student population has remained virtually the same. Now, I don't blame, this current school board is relatively new, okay? So there's a lot of blame to go around, but they've made some boneheaded decisions, too, about where they move schools of choice, et cetera, that are going to cost us a lot more money. So I'm telling you, I just really want, I guess it's too much to ask for a level of rational thinking on all levels of government before they come back and hose us again for more money.
Well, no one wants a cut. We have seen it happen. Warren, wrap this up, and we're going to go back to the phone calls.
One quick thing. Whatever happened to the list of contracts that were supposed to be put on the state website and made available for everybody?
Those 19,000?
Went up for about 30 minutes and then came down. Did it ever go back up?
I don't know.
Everybody in this state should demand that those contracts be put out there for the world to see.
We're going to talk to Fred Mills at 8:10, so hopefully he can give us an answer.
A little bit more insight
I'll send it.
Fred, one of the few people who will actually answer your questions.
No.
Okay. All right.
I don't want to make a wage. No.
So, hey, let's go to our phones. 232-1542. Your thoughts on where we are, the state budget, and the $304 million budget gap. Go ahead with your comment.
Yes, I want y'all to explain something to me and see if I'm right or wrong. Okay, our government was hired to do a job, elected, Republican, Democrat. What they're doing, does that not fall in line with treason? They're overthrowing this government and trying to overthrow this. and bring it into a communist state?
Oh, man. You know what? You go to that website that I mentioned, indivisibleguide.com, and you will see what their agenda is. And it's former Democratic congressional staffers, by the way, who actually know where all the bones are buried and how to get this done. So they're up to no good. And, by the way, they do draw the direct line through a bunch of different, organizations, NGOs, Move America Forward, all that kind of stuff, Think Progress, direct line to George Soros. Sorry.
All right. So we'll wrap that topic up there. We'll come back, talk about Yale has announced it's renaming one of its colleges, and we'll take more of your phone calls. It is Wingin' It Wednesday. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our friends over there, 1212 Ambassador Caffrey. Tell you more about that selection. Things you'll find over there, all coming up. This is Wingin' It Wednesday on KPEL. Hey, welcome back to Wingin' It Wednesday, brought to you by our friends over at Service Cadillac. Look, the selection over there, colors, everything. I just feel like right when you turn in on 1212 Ambassador Caffrey, what's right ahead of you is always going to be a Cadillac, and it's always up on a pedestal.
It's like bliss.
Now, here's the deal. You don't, despite, popular belief, you don't have to drive that off the pedestal yourself. They'll get that off.
Oh, well,
If you
that's
decide-
good to know.
if you
that's
decide
the one
that's
you
the
want?
one that you want.
Okay,
'Cause
so
you know
they
what?
magically beam it down off of the pedestal.
That's where mine was sitting.
Right.
And I'll tell you, it's a cool day. Now, what is it? What's tonight? Going to get down into the 40s, right?
41, right?
Trust me, tomorrow morning, I will definitely have the steering wheel heater on.
You will.
Because your hands don't get cold. On a leather steering wheel.
Yeah. He's got the heated seats, too, so his butt doesn't get cold either.
Hey, it's South Louisiana. They're also air conditioned. The seats are also air conditioned.
They're air conditioned?
So your buns and your hands will be nice and toasty tomorrow.
I'm here to tell
I'm
you.
so glad he shared.
The
TMI.
CTS, it's a dream car. You got to go see it. Go see my buddy Dean over at Service Cadillac, or anyone for that matter.
No,
they have good air conditioning and popcorn and bottled water.
You mentioned the colors. Really, they do have some. They're just gorgeous. Very subtle.
Very
in some
subtle.
cases, sort of paralyzed. My neighbor down the street has one, and I'm very envious. It's a beautiful color.
Carol, I know all it's going to take is for one day when you come for Wingin' It Wednesday, I'm going to say, here are my keys, go to breakfast. And then I think you'll end up driving it over to service, and I'll have to come meet you there to pick up my car.
Promises. Hey, Bernie, how many times has he said that? He hasn't ever followed through.
I always mean it. Come
blah,
on.
blah, 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 blah.
As we wrap up our topics, Yale has announced it's changing the names of one of its colleges. I can't even think of, is it business college at Yale? I can't think of which one it is. But due to some white supremacy, slavery connections,
What?
and it's kind of a really strange story that it's kind of like it didn't really make headlines anywhere, but those who are sharing it all over the place.
Oh, it's all over the place.
What's the deal, Carol?
Concurrently with that, with John C. Calhoun. He was a quote unquote. They're changing the name of this building. They said he was a white supremacist and a national leader who passionately promoted slavery. In the days that he lived, maybe so. But they'll have to change the name of the university. Does anybody remember Elihu Yale? Mr. Yale. Mr. Yale was not only a supremacist, he actually made money on it. He was a slave trader.
Oh, my.
Yes, through his work with the British East India Company, Elihu Yale was a slave trader. So, my dear, are you going to change the name of the university? Totally. Are you going to really look at your history? She was on O'Reilly last night, and at the same time, they're honoring the Black Panthers. The same time they're doing away with John C. Calhoun, they're honoring the Black Panthers. And O'Reilly, who has a sense of history, said, Miss So-and-so, do you realize that the Black Panthers, bombed things and killed people and that? No, we're honoring because they used to feed the kids and sometimes in the ghetto they'd provide breakfast and whatever, that they, and he said, but don't you understand that they did some terrible things too? Well, you have to understand them in the context of the time they lived. Bingo! How about George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, John C. Calhoun, Elihu Yale, whatever. Maybe we should understand them in the context of the time that they lived. They have a selective morality.
I wonder if we are giving meaning to things that don't have it. I often thought this about the whole Lee Circle thing. Okay, the only thing most people know about Lee Circle is that that's where you could go watch the parade pass you twice. Because it goes around the circle, and as a kid, that's where we wanted to be. I don't think people think of it like that. Yale, That's news to me. I had never even known that about who Yale was named after. You just know it's now an institution. Now Yale is bigger than the person it was named after.
They only go so far, and it's very selective morality and outrage over certain things, and they're perfectly fine with other things.
Warren, your thoughts?
I want to digress just one bit and say something. Go back about the Russian probe and all that. I'm totally in favor of having the hearing and the Russian probe, but I want it to be totally comprehensive. I don't want a limited scope probe. I'm going to go back to like 1980s and let's go in and have a real hearing about what all that we think the Russians have done as far as trying to spy on us, and let's also talk about what all we have done to spy on them. And talking about the spy ship 70 miles off the East Coast. How many spy ships do we have 70 miles off the East Coast of Russia? Look, let's just go in and let's lay it all out. If we're going to let's lay it all out. Let's don't just talk about Flynn and this deal. Let's also talk about Hillary and all the money that went to her and all. Let's get all that. Okay, now to Yale and one of my favorite topics here. Yale is a private institution. They're allowed to do whatever the hell they want to do. If they want to rename the whole school, they can. If they want to rename the football field and the track and all that, I don't care who they name it after. One of my favorite stories about Yale is J. Howard Marshall. Some of you may remember him.
As Anna Nicole Smith's husband?
Anna Nicole Smith's husband. J. Howard Marshall, was a billionaire, and he was a graduate of Yale from 1922 or something, whenever it was, I don't know. But Yale was like all these other schools where they jump on the alumni to get all your money and, make a big endowment to us and on and on. Well, J. Howard Marshall had already signed over, put all of his stuff into a trust, right? So he told Yale, he said, hell yeah, I'll give you everything I got, basically. So they flew him up there and and they wined him and dined him. Of course, he was kind of, fond of the good-looking ladies and the pole dancers, and I understand that.
We knew he was going to get it in.
I understand they took the old man to more pole dancing clubs than you can imagine.
Well, that's where he met her.
They wined and dined him, and I have eaten dinner at the restaurant where they used to eat lunch every day, but I didn't know it at the time.
Right.
It was an extremely nice place. Rush Limbaugh said he went there in 1988 Republican convention. Wonderful place called Tony's. And anyway, that J. Howard Marshall told Yale he would give them all this money. So then, as it turns out, he didn't have any money to give. And they had spent all this money on him and whatever. And so there was a...
So he sure wasn't stupid.
They wasn't stupid at all. And so that at the end... They wound up as a court case in Louisiana where they were fighting over one of those trusts, and part of it was in Louisiana, and that there was no money left in it because the trustee of it was his son, and basically he
pulled it all out. Yep.
Yeah, and he was drawing money, which he was allowed to do, And so Yale they asked Yale because there were 3 beneficiaries in there, and Yale was one of them, and Yale said, we have no active pledges from him. In other words, let's just forget this deal. The other 2 schools were saying, oh, yeah, he pledged $2 million to us and $3 million this one. So,
hey,
go Yale, go.
Just watch the money trail.
Yeah.
That's the way it always goes in anything.
By the way, getting back to the state budget, I'm anxious to hear what Senator Mills says. And kudos to him. He always responds. And
he's
never
always
shies
very
away. Open. He always responds, and I got to give him kudos for that.
That is Wingin' It Wednesday for today. You hear Carol's show, The Ross Report, at 2 o'clock today.
Yep.
And, of course, thanks again to our friends over at Service Cadillac. Hey, someone beamed me over a little message. I'm huge savings on remaining 2016s on the light. Carol, up to $15,000 off.
Uh-oh.
That's incredible. Y'all need...
You want me to drive you, Carol?
I was going to say, y'all need to go drive.
God, I got to get rid of that lease I have right now.
7:58. Hey, they can help you over there.
I think they
Go
can.
see Dean. All right, 7:58. Wingin' It Wednesday brought to you every single week by Service Chevrolet Cadillac.
Make sure you buckle up I-10 eastbound, mile marker 100. That's right there at Ambassador. There's still a crash there.
A lease? Are you...